The Hash It Out Show is brought to you by Barreto Home Solutions, Bayou Audio and Video, Hot Works on the North Shore, JFK Martial Arts in Mandeville and Covington, Black Hawk Hauling, Lil Dizzy's Cafe, Wags Food and Culture, Moe's Pizza, The Green Law Firm, Personal Injury Attorney, Drums Earwear.
Hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Move, move, move. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. 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 Hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Move, move, move. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I am your host, JB, the Sports Guy. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We got a big show for you all tonight. We're going to recap some of the quarterfinal playoff games that happened this past Friday. Also, we have two special guests joining us. One of the special guests is Mandeville head coach Craig Jones. He will join us at 8 o'clock. The other, well, we get to him right in a second, but I'll have to introduce my two co-hosts that joins me every Tuesday and Wednesday. You can catch them both on CrescentCitySports.com. First up, the one, the only, VK Jones. What's going on, VK?
Hey, what's going on, people? We appreciate you joining us tonight. Like, tag, share, and subscribe to the Hash It Out Show on all platforms, and also log on to the hashitout.show.com. And this is a huge week, semifinal week, and we got some big time announcements for you coming up on the show as well.
Most definitely. My other co-host, George Peppers. What's going on, George?
Well, of all times to play hurt, it's the semifinals. And as you go, I feel like I've got a sort of frogs in my throat or something. I don't know. But of all times to play hurt, but you know what? The excitement is not dim. It is penultimate stage. The dome is around the corner, and we will be there next week. Book it. Um, but hopefully your alma mater gets it done Friday night, JB. And you know, there's no bigger fan than me in advance of the game against Kennedy. If they won that game, they were going to beat St. Thomas More. It's not going to be easy. And I know we're going to pick the games tomorrow night. We got a big thank you to do later in the show. So let's get started. I can't wait.
Let's get right to it. Like I said, we have Craig Jones at 8 o'clock, the head coach of the Mandeville Skippers. But our special guest at this time, he is the head coach of the Catholic of Baton Rouge Bears. He has his team in the semifinals in his first year as the head coach, the one, the only coach, Hudson Fuller. Coach Fuller, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thank you guys for having me tonight.
Thank you for joining us, Coach. Coach, you were the OC at Catholic of Baton Rouge from 2017 to 2019. You took the head coaching position at West Feliciana. How thrilled were you to take the head coaching job back at Catholic of Baton Rouge?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an honor. You know, it's an incredible place. With a lot of history, proud alumni, and an incredible administration. So, it's the thing that I think makes it the most special is just the mission of the school, and the administration's commitment to following that mission. So, really honored to be back, and that's really been the main thing for me and the rest of our coaching staff is just to honor the people that have given us this opportunity, in the way that we handle it.
When a new head coach takes over a new position at a new school, they usually have to change the culture or change certain things. Were there certain things you had to change when you took over at Catholic Baton Rouge?
Yeah, I mean, when you start, it's all about defining what the standards are going to be. What are the standards and expectations? And so, regardless of whether it was new or something they had done before, that was the most important thing. And you kind of just making sure that was focused and aligned with the school. That's one thing. For us at Catholic, but really for a lot of different places, the more aligned you are as an athletic program with the mission of your school, a lot of times the more successful you can be. And so, those are the biggest, really, to be kind of more specific, just making sure we got great attention to detail, that everything that we're doing, we are doing it the way that it's supposed to be done, in the right way. And these guys playing for Catholic, and really any program, everybody's got their own personal goals, but for us, we got to make sure that everybody is understanding the privilege and the responsibility it is to play for Catholic.
In the season, you guys hit a little bump in the road. Warren Easton had to forfeit their win against y'all. A loss to University and a loss to St. Thomas More. How were you able to get your team to refocus on the task at hand, which is, of course, a state championship at Catholic?
Yeah, it really, you never want to lose a game, or lose. In that case, it was 3 in a row like that. But to me, that adversity has really led us to where we are right now. We kind of started the game, started the season, kind of what I'd say outcome focused. We're real focused on our record and what kind of how many games we're going to win and this and that. And at that point, it came down to, hey, we got to focus on getting better. And really for us, that's what our program's about. We got standards, we got expectations, and we're measuring success based off of, are we meeting those expectations and standards or not, based off of what we're capable of doing and what we say is important. Those 3 losses, I think, led all of our attention to be on the right things, and kind of taking all the distractions out of it, and really commend our players and our coaches, because you got kind of 2 choices to make at that point. You can point fingers or let off the gas, and everybody really stuck together through that situation, and led us to where we are now. So.
You played John Curtis this past Friday, and it seems that you guys play every year in the playoffs or in the state championship. Somewhere down the line, you guys play each other every year. What was the message at halftime to your team when you guys were down 21-10?
Yeah, really, there's a lot of ways you can think about it or look at it, but for us, it's, hey, we're 24 minutes away from what we want. You can look at it like, hey, feeling sorry for yourself, but at the end of the day, that was really it. Is, hey guys, we're 24 minutes away from where we want to be. Now we got to go make it happen, and they did a great job of responding to that.
What was the feeling when you got the game-winning touchdown with 2 seconds left to go in the game?
Yeah, it was, we better go play these 2 seconds. That was at least how I felt. Just the time on the clock, and really they did a great job on the kickoff return. They got off a lot, about 12 laterals on that kickoff return, and so that was really the main thing, is making sure we finish those 2 seconds.
Before I pass it on to VK Jones, this upcoming Friday, you have the Archbishop Rummel Raiders. Once again, another team that Catholic is very, very familiar with. You are, when you were the OC as well. What have you seen on film about the Archbishop Rummel Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, they have really improved from week to week, especially as it's come to playoffs. They've gotten a lot better, and they're a good football team with talented players. They always do a great job of coaching. They play great defense. They do a great job on offense, mixing things up, and they definitely got big playability, really all over the field, and have gotten some guys healthy as well. So, going to be a great football game for us, and looking forward to it.
And
VK, we're gonna come back to you. You're breaking up. George Peppers, go ahead.
Coach Fuller, first of all, thank you for taking the run. Um, First of all, congrats on the finals, the penultimate stage of the playoffs, and best of luck going forward. But my first question to you, you talked about the early season struggles that you guys had. Of course, I mean, those are rugged football teams that you played. Do you feel like the Zachary game in week 10 and the manner that you won that game kind of kickstarted this team's momentum as to where they are now?
Yeah, as you look at it, we played a really tough pre-district schedule, and then it was kind of time for growth, and we focused on growth for a long period of time, like we should be each and every day in the first place. And then we got to week 10, and that was really kind of a wager. All right, how far have we come? Because they're a great football team. They had played a good season up to that point, and so it was kind of, I guess, validating for a lot of our players to see. All right, hey, we've made these changes, we've done all this hard work, and now we can see that it's paid off, and we're a much better football team because of it, and kind of gave us confidence moving into the playoffs. And a lot of our players, really just stepped up in big ways in that game, and them having stepped up at those times, I think is paying off for us now.
Sure. Next question. Last year, the River Pound, they won 3. Baton Rouge is starting to re-announce themselves. If that's the word to use, with you guys, Zachary and Dutchtown. Zachary and Dutchtown are playing each other in the semifinals. Talk about their, I don't want to say reincarnation. That's not the right word I want to use. The strength of Baton Rouge is starting to show itself again in this leg of the playoffs. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say, I grew up in Baton Rouge, and seeing football in the Baton Rouge area in the last 10 years, I'd say there's just a lot of schools that have made a commitment to be good at football, and they've hired great coaches. The level of coaches that we have here in the Baton Rouge area, I think, is something to be proud of. And a lot of schools have just made a commitment to football, which has showed off, I think, in a big way in these last 5-10 years. And this year is a great example of it. So a lot of great coaches in the area that do things the right way, and put together great seasons every year.
Now, I know we're into the semi. I don't want to say redundant question, but it's an easy one. The excitement level for the game on Friday night, ticket-wise, it's got to be off the chain.
Yeah, and the more, the further you get in the year, the more there is on the line. And that could be, sometimes it can be a distraction. You can start to worry about or think about the what ifs, or start to think about that outcome a little too much maybe. And so our big theme for playoffs this year as a team has just been one day at a time. And if you look at you get about a month of playoff football if you get to go all the way, and
Yep.
4 of those days, if you're getting a bye, are days that you're actually playing football. And so one day at a time, being focused on the preparation, and making sure we're highly motivated when we go out there on Friday.
Very big argument and a statement to beat John Curtis last Friday night. If you could on 2 wins against arguably one of the best districts in the state, that'd be a very convincing argument to put Baton Rouge, you got near that slate in that area, because if you're able to knock them off. When you look at Rummel, though, you mentioned earlier that's a team that's getting healthier. You've seen them on film. Give me some keys to what it's gonna take for you guys to punch your ticket to Pointer Street in the Superdome next week?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is what we call complementary football. So, some may call it the field position battle, but it's really it comes into a lot more than that. Really, all three phases tying in together and complement each other. Offense, defense, and special teams. Offensively, just staying in front of the chains and being consistent. Defensively, we got to tackle well and pursue the football. So that's when you're going against a team that's solid really in all three fronts. You've got to account for all of it, and that's going to be the case for us.
What would it mean for you and for the school, but mostly for you because it's your first year at Baton Rouge Catholic to win the state title? It's been a few years since BRC has won a title, but what would it mean for you personally and for the community itself to finish this off and win this week and then win again next week? That's my last question to you.
Yeah, and obviously trying to focus on one thing at a time and take care of this week. But at the end of the day, for our players, we, like y'all mentioned earlier, really we start 1-3, and for their trust in us and our staff to keep coming to work every day, to have a great attitude, that'd be the biggest thing to me is for them to kind of get that payoff, right, and to get to have that experience. That would mean the world to me. And at the end of the day, like I said, trying to honor Catholic High, the people that have put us in this position, it would be humbling.
Hey, Coach Fuller, I hope y'all can hear me now.
Yep.
All right, Coach Fuller, thank you so much for being here and everything else, and thanks for getting back with us. But gotta ask you this, appreciate you being on. But here's the thing. I know it was kind of rough earlier for you in the season. Which game you can say was the turning point in your season that really catapulted what went on your schedule, really got it going for you guys?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of things going towards the direction they're in now, on the what I'd call the get right side, right? Like the U High game, we lose by a point, and we come in and we look at the film on Sunday, and we can find 15 plays where, from an attention to detail standpoint, if we execute, that 1 point may be different, and so that I feel like kind of got us on the path of having a little bit greater attention to detail, and then as we started to do those things, see the results of them, and build confidence. I'd say the Central game, we talked about the Zachary game, and that was definitely a big one. But the Central game for us, it was a big environment, a lot on the line at that point, and to kind of break through there, it was a big turning point for us, I'd say.
I can definitely agree with that. The Central game was an unbelievable ball game in itself, and it seemed like you answered everything that Central threw at you, and y'all wound up putting that ball game away.
Yeah, and we had to fight through some adversity there too. We had a couple turnovers that made the game a little closer, and then they were able to score there at the end to make it closer at the end. So. Even it wasn't necessarily our best football. We made some mistakes for sure, but at the end of the day, we kind of got over the hump of battling through that adversity. So
the Zachary ball game was amazing in itself for y'all to win that district championship, but not just that, the way y'all did it. I mean, especially how y'all moved the ball against a very good Zachary defense, how the preparation was for that week of that game.
Yeah, and it was a short week. It was a Thursday game, so that kind of played into it. So it was, as you play in those big games, it's there's going to be back and forth, right? Like there's going to be things that swing one way or the other, and you gotta keep playing, right? Whether things go your way or whether they don't. And so, kind of preparing the players to play through those moments, right? Play one moment at a time. And then, from a game plan standpoint, they did they were solid across the board. They could give you some issues just because of their team speed on defense. That they could give you alignments that in a lot of cases you would be getting certain results and you weren't getting them because they were closing to the football so fast. So we were able to just eventually get in rhythm and finish out the game there. And defensively, did a great job of they were really explosive. And they had a couple explosive plays here and there, but for the most part, we were able to cut those down, and that made the big difference in it.
Did you think the grinded out game against Zachary prepared you for that comeback against John Curtis, the way y'all came back and win that game?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And really we've had two. We had the Picayune game. Game one was an overtime game as well. So two overtime games where it's taken everything you got until the very end. And so for both of those games to play out in our favor, we get the ball back with I think 46 seconds, and our guys on offense feel like, hey, we've had to battle like this at the end, and seeing how it plays out if we just keep playing. So I think it really paid off.
Well, I tell you, I know you was an assistant before Catholic, and you did your time at West Feliciana, done an unbelievable job. Did you think getting that opportunity at West Feliciana and the year you had prepared you to become who you are now at Catholic of Baton Rouge?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm extremely grateful for my time at Westville. Just the community there. We actually still live out in St. Francisville. The community there, the administration at the school, they were always just great to me and my family, and it was a huge growth opportunity for me because there were a lot of things that it was starting one way and we wanted to grow and build them kind of in another way, and we were able to do that slowly through the process, and so a lot of things kind of had to start from the bottom and grow them up, and watching those things come into fruition, watching the kind of the culture of a team change and their belief in themselves change, and seeing what it took to make that happen it was a huge growth experience for me, and definitely has made me who I am for sure.
Last question before I give it back to JB to finish things off. You guys get it done. It's been very fortunate that you guys have, looking at the draw, you host again. You play Rummel, a very good Rummel team. If you get it done,
Mhm.
it'll be a lot of big time history for Catholic getting back first time in 2 years. But at the same time, we remember way back how good that Catholic program was, but just could not win the big one until Dale Wanda finally won it against Rummel to get them their first state title. And then over the 2 decades, if you get the win, you'll be the fourth head coach taking Catholic back to the state championship. How it's been that a historic program like Catholic is now all the hard work is starting to pay off for that program.
Yeah, and really what you said is just a testament to the school, right? So, and the administration, and like I said, the mission of the school being, uh, just really focused on the process, and it's a place where it's just a great setup to run a great football program. From the things that are the standards that we hold kids to in our football program are the same standards that they're held to everywhere they go on campus, right? And every employee at the school is held to the standard of being their best, and that, simply say like, what's the mission of the school? Hey, success is graduating. Our students graduate with the knowledge that God loves. For us to give them personal attention, friendly discipline, and teach them gospel values. And so those things, when intertwined into a football program and intentionally worked with each and every day, produce great results.
Coach, we love the interaction that we have with our viewers that watches this show. And one of our viewers does have a question for you. I pretty much know your answer already to this question, but I'm going to ask him his on his behalf. Mr. Leo Pollard, he asks, "Who would you rather play in the championship?"
If my players, I've set them up for the company line here is we play Rummel on Friday, and that's it. So, we definitely got to focus on one thing at a time, and taking care of business this Friday. So.
That's right, Coach. I would say the same thing. Don't look ahead. Stay right there on the task at hand,
Good
Coach.
answer.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's the correct, perfect answer. So, Coach Fuller, thank you for joining us. Good luck to you Friday night against the Archbishop Rummel Raiders. We appreciate you being on the show.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Hudson Fuller of the Catholic Baton Rouge Bears. And guys, let's go right into it with our next guest. He is the head coach of the Mandeville Skippers. He has his team playing in the semifinals also, as they will head up to Ruston to take on the Ruston Bearcats. We have the one, the only, Coach Craig Jones. Coach, how you doing? And thank you for joining us.
I'm doing well, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. We truly appreciate it. Coach, what was the feeling of becoming the head coach of Mandeville, which is your alma mater?
It's special. We had a really good thing going on at Lakeshore for a number of years, and I'd said to you coaches on my staff that there was really only one school that I would entertain leaving Lakeshore for, and that would be where I grew up. So when the opportunity presented itself, really kind of for the second time, I just felt like it was the right time to pursue it. And then when I was given the opportunity and I was named the head coach, just a great sense of pride and honored to be able to lead this program that I grew up in and that I care so much about.
I read that you said you wanted to build this program on trust. Why is that so important?
It's a big thing for me, not only within our coaching office, but in our locker room, that and an extension into our players' families, that those parents trust us with their kids. They trust that we have their best interest in all phases. Our coaches trust each other. Our players trust our coaches, or our coaches trust our players. And if you don't have that, I don't think you're ever going to get to the very top. You're never going to reach that pinnacle of success, because there's always going to be adversity, and there's always going to be something in your way. And if you can't trust the people that you're side by side with, you're going to find something is going to trip you up.
I totally agree. This past Friday, you guys defeated the Airline Vikings 56 to 50. Airline, that we know they have a very, very explosive offense. What was the game plan going into that game?
Well, we felt like we could control the game offensively. We felt like we could run the ball. We really wanted to kind of limit the number of possessions because we knew that they were going to do certain things in just their philosophy and the way they attack the game that could potentially steal a possession from us. They're a big onside kick team. They're a big either running some type of misdirection or trick play in special teams, a lot of trick plays offensively to try and create explosive plays. I mean, they average 45 points a game during the season, so it was being able to try and just control the game, see if we could get out to a lead, and really kind of put the pressure on them to continue to execute, which in a lot of portions of the game they did. They kept answering. We kind of had the lead and they would answer, and we would take the lead again and they would answer all the way until the end. I mean, we didn't feel we joked about it this week. I never felt comfortable until we got back to the gym and we were everybody was kind of undressing when the game was over.
Mandeville is back in the semifinals. You guys are going to play the Ruston Bearcats. What have you seen on film about Ruston?
Very big, very, very physical, downhill running game with an explosive back. They really have two really good backs, but Zero, Jordan Hayes, is a special player. They got some skill on the outside, very talented in the front six with a couple commitments within those guys. A sound scheme. They're going to make you earn everything. They don't give up a lot of free plays. They tackle well. I mean, there's a reason they're undefeated, and there's a reason that they're coming off of a dome appearance last year and where they are this year. So obviously very impressed with what we see on film, and we know that we're going to have our A game on Friday night.
Before I pass it on to George Peppers, you have a special player also in running back Nate Shepard. How important has he been as a leader to this team?
I think the biggest thing with him is, you feel like you always have a chance of something special happening every time you give him the ball. But his ability to kind of have the team has that sense of comfort too, that something could happen when he touches the ball. But he's great at practice. He's a phenomenal student. He's great in the locker room. He's great. He's great in the weight room. He's the guy that you want to be the one that's kind of out in front and represent your program.
GP.
Coach Jones, first of all, thank you. Yeah, I'm here. Coach Jones, first of all, thank you for taking the time to join us, and congratulations on making it to the semifinals. And I kind of want to thank you because I went out on a limb before the playoffs started and put you guys into this position. I picked you guys because I thought the draw set up well for you based on what you guys can do and your skill set. So thank you for that, making me look good. I appreciate that. But
I'm glad that happened because that means we're still here.
There you go. I mean, if you weren't, hey, it is what it is. But you know what? Here you are, the penultimate stage, the last time before you get to the dome. The last semifinal Mandeville was in, for those just joining us, was in 2015 against John Eric, and they were a doink from the crossbar of getting to the Superdome, and would have played Acadiana. So everybody remembers that. I do. I'm an Eric grad. But my first question to you, Coach. 6-5A is a very tough district. The North Shore has got a lot of quality teams. Do you feel like that district helped set you up for this playoff run that you guys are on right now?
I don't think there's a doubt about that. I think the interesting thing about our district is, for some reason there's a narrative out there that our district isn't that good when our teams get into the playoffs. But if you look at historically the number of teams that we've sent to the quarterfinals or the semifinals, pre-split, post-split, the success that St. Paul's has had in their brackets, I think the biggest thing that our district sets us up for is that it's very competitive week in, week out, and there's a lot of different schemes that offenses and defenses use within our district. So you kind of get well-rounded from spread to wing tee to prior to Coach Tierney leaving, slot option. You kind of had to run the gambit of a number of different things. And so when you got into the playoffs, you had kind of seen everything, and it wasn't the first time preparing for a specific type of offense. I think that pays huge dividends. And when you have to go through that year in, year out, when you get into that postseason, I think it does prepare you.
I think there's any question. And the other narrative that I hear is that the team not as speedy as the ones in other districts, and I think that's just a misnomer in most senses. I think you guys play a great brand of football, physical, close to the vest. And were you surprised at the tempo of how that game last week played out? 56-50. You guys, I mean, y'all could score, but Airline plays a little faster. Do you feel like you were surprised at how the tempo of that game played out?
I felt like the biggest thing for us was going to be if we were going to be able to contain them, we had to win first down, because if they were able to get their tempo going offensively, they did a really good job of getting in and out of different formations that are not traditional changes without having to change personnel. And they didn't change personnel, and they would go from 4 wide to a wing split, and they would run wing T concepts with buck sweep. And then all of a sudden they'd be in spread again, and they're running spread concepts, and they're not changing personnel to do it. And if you allowed them to get into that tempo, they are deadly with it. And they got us several times, but we traded all the films with them. And when we marked everything up, we had only had them marked down for punting the ball 6 times the entire season. Wow. And part of their philosophy is they go for it on 4th down a lot, unless they're inside their own 10. They go for it on 4th down. They onside kick all the time. You just always feel like you're in this pressure is on you. But we were able to force them to punt 3 times. We were able to get 2 stops on 4th down. So you look, I know we gave up 50 points and all that stuff, but there are a lot of times during the game where I felt like we did have control and we played well, and then we would lose it and their tempo would take over, and then we were able to get it back. And then, fortunately at the end, we were able to get just enough stops to get the win.
Yeah, that game was. Myself and VK Jones, we tracked that game throughout the night, and it was like, man, look at this. Is the breeder's wearing his knuckles out or something, or what? I want to bring up self, and part of the reasoning of why I thought you guys could get here was the teams that you played weren't teams that had sustained success, weren't teams that had playoff pedigree like to me. Mandeville has the recency edge, and you guys, when you go to the lights, when they are, you guys seem to have the step up. Do you feel like when you look at the overall bracket on the way to the semis, that those teams, the Sam Houston's, teams that don't have the pedigree that you guys have, do you feel like you have going in?
I think there's a couple things there. I think if you go back to week 9, we're 4-4, and there's no guarantee we're in the playoffs. So we're playing to get into the playoffs, and it's a different mindset to where, Sam Houston was 7-3, and I think they might have lost their week 10 game, so they had only had 2 losses. St. Amant was a 1-loss team. Airline was a 1-loss team. Like, they knew they were in the playoffs. So those last 2 weeks of the season, they didn't have the same, we've got to win or get in mindset as we did. So I thought that helped us going into the playoffs. But then the opponents themselves, I think you're correct, because it is something that we talked about with our kids. Our seniors are the only kids in our program that had any type of playoff experience from Mandeville High School. And that was if they got a chance to dress out as a freshman, so they were really just standing on the sideline when Mandeville went to the quarterfinals in 2020, I believe it was. And so you look at, Sam Houston was in the same boat. So we felt like we were both going into that game with no playoff experience. And we were kind of on even footing there. St. Amant had a history of getting in the playoffs, but really being first or second round results within the playoffs. Maybe occasionally a quarterfinal appearance, but a lot of first and second round results. And then Airline, similar, but more quarterfinals here and there. But kind of the same thing of you weren't going into that team that was used to being there all the time, which we are facing this week with Ruston. But at this point, I mean, look, everybody's good at this point, and we're a 21 seed. If things would have played out a little differently during the season, obviously I felt like we're athletically and what we have as a football team, we were better than a 21 seed, but that's what we were going into the bracket.
Looking ahead to this week, Ruston, obviously, a very big challenge for you guys. You mentioned it's a team that got to the Superdome last year, so the hunger's right the wrong that they had last year, losing to Destran. When you look at this matchup, what's it going to take for you guys to find a way to win it and get to New Orleans next week?
I think it's a couple things. I mean, there's your basic, there's your coach speak. We got to tackle well. We got to protect the football. We got to make sure that we do, certain things. But they do a really good job in their run game. They're a downhill power counter, mainly their scheme, and they block it several different ways based on how the defense is playing it. So it's more than just tackling well. You got to fit up the scheme well, because a little crease here or there, their running back has shown he has the ability to turn that into a touchdown. And then you've got to be sound, because they'll hit you with play action, and they got kids on the outside. And then as the game progresses, and if the game is close, third, fourth quarter, and that tension builds and the pressure builds, you've got to be able to make sure that you don't have that play that creates momentum for them, a turnover, a big loss on downs or negative plays, because they have been in this situation before, and they have played in these type of games, and we have now too. But you just don't want to do the things to make sure that the doubt doesn't creep into on your sideline.
Well, last question before I turn it over to VK Jones. What would it mean for the Skippers, alumni, and the community if you guys were able to be successful in going into Ruston and winning that game? What would it mean? It's your first trip to the Superdome at your alma mater, and I don't remember Mandeville ever making it to the Superdome, so I think this is their first time. But what would it mean to the community?
I mean, obviously, it would be special. Mandeville's been to the doorstep 3 times. 11, 12, and 15, I believe it was, but has never been able to get past the point that we're at right now. And I told our kids right after the game on Friday, I said they've put themselves to the point that 3 other teams in this program's history have done, and they have the opportunity to surpass that. And if we're able to do that, then obviously it would be something special for our alma mater, our community, everybody who works within Mandeville High School, and all the great support that we've had throughout the season, and to be able to extend it another week. And that's really been the focus more than anything. Is we really haven't focused on what our seed was or what our opponent's seed was, and if it was going to be an upset or if we were underdogs. It really hasn't. We've really been, the whole message the entire postseason has been, embrace the time that we have, and let's do everything we can to be able to spend another week together and be able to have another Monday practice, have another Thursday practice. For us is hat day. It's a big thing for the kids. And, to be able to do that for another week and cherish those moments. And, this is Team 57. And at some point, whether we win the whole thing or not, Team 57 is going to end. So just being able to cherish the time that we've had together and enjoy the growth that this group has had together throughout the season.
Coach Jones, man, it's good to have you on. Appreciate you getting back with us and everything, man. It's great to have you. I hope you remember the face with name and all that stuff, But first question, Coach. We know about Shepard, how much he really puts on the field, how much he means to the team. What about your quarterback, Ben Hendricks? How much he's been really stepping up for you and making plays for the Skippers?
So Ben has played well. We made a change going into week 9 and made Ben the starting quarterback. Felt like he earned the opportunity. He's a young man who throughout the JV season went undefeated and played extremely well. And we were looking for some consistency at the position. And he's brought that and more. He's very poised. He's been put in some tough situations, and they don't really rattle him. And I think it brings a sense of calm to his teammates on the field. He's played extremely well. I'm very proud of him.
Well, I'd say you had some great success over at Lakeshore over the years and everything else. And I remembered when I interviewed you the time when y'all played Bell Chasing the playoffs, and you always said, "I'm like, man, I'm gonna do what I gotta do here. I love what I'm doing here at Lakeshore." But you did mention before in another interview that the only school I would entertain is Mandeville. How it is being back home at your alma mater?
Well, I think I lost connection for just a second. I heard you all the way up to Bell Chase, and then I lost you.
Okay. You can hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying, like, the time when you said you would entertain Mandeville, you took the job. How it is being back home, leading your alma mater to the level that they are right now, more than anything else. Because I know you was a former player, and I know the community means so much to you.
Yeah, man. It's special. Look, when in 2017, when we made our first run at Lakeshore and made it all the way to the Superdome, there was a change in coaches, or there was an opening at Mandeville. And there were a lot of people who were asking me what my interest level there was. And I mean, look, it was there, obviously, but I didn't feel like it was the right time. to make the move and decided to stay at Lakeshore. And obviously we had some success there afterwards. When the opening happened again, just professionally, for my family, I've last year would be in the first year I had a sophomore at the school and an eighth grader coming up. So this year I got a freshman and a junior. To be able to have them at the same school I'm at, which they were going to go to Mandeville either way, whether I stayed at Lakeshore or not, that wasn't changing. But to be able to be at the school with them and not make up for lost time when they were little kids, and there were a lot of mornings where you'd wake up and they were asleep, and you'd come home late after a varsity or JV game and they were asleep, and you lose that whole day with them. But it's just special to be able to be at this school that I care about with my kids, which was a big part of the decision to come back along, other than just having a passion for this program and wanting this program to be successful, and to see, what could we do with my whole staff coming with me? What could we do in 5A football, and where could we take this thing?
Very much agreed. And I remember the run you made going to the door with Lakeshore. And I know that experience right there could help your team more than anything else, trying to lead them to somewhere that they have never been before. And it was something when you take a North Shore program, as in Lakeshore, getting them to the Dome, and it's something that you want to try to do for this team here. But when did you finish at Mandeville? Trying to go back.
When did I graduate?
Yes, sir.
I graduated in '99, and then I immediately came back in 2001 at Mandeville and was a volunteer coach. So I coached at Mandeville from 2001 all the way up to 2010, and then made the move to Lakeshore. And then I was there until 2 years ago. So I've only been at two schools, and I care a lot about both of them. Like I said, Lakeshore has a very special place in my heart, and that'll never change, because that was a school that had the faith in me to give me the opportunity to be a first-time head coach, and allowed me to grow, and I'll never, ever forget that. But it's special being here where I grew up and I played at, and it's really, really cool to have the community and all the support that we have right now, and just being able to come back to my phone after the win on Friday night, and my phone's blowing up with teammates, former players from Lakeshore. It's really special time.
Wow. And then you look at the time in '99, I think it was near around the time BJ Sams played, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
Exactly.
BJ was 1 year younger than me. Yep.
Yeah, that was some good teams then, and they played back then. I'm class of '97. I remember a quarterback named Brandon McCullum, who was really, really good at Mandeville, and they played in that tough super district with Covington and John Errett and West Jefferson.
They did.
And at the time, that they played in some tough districts, and then getting in the North Shore district, things wasn't too different, right, Coach?
No, and actually, Brandon was the quarterback of the team in '95. That was one of the best teams that has played at Mandeville. They were 9-1. I think their only loss in the regular season was to Hammond, who I think they maybe lost to Curtis in the semifinals in 4A. But that team, they didn't have the power ratings yet. They had beaten Rummel in the regular season 10-7, and then had to play Rummel in the first round because it was regional based stuff, and lost to Rummel 3-0. But that was a special football team in 1995. But yeah, you bring back some old names, man. That's some special times right there.
Well, I was a member of the '95 St. Augustine football team, and we came up short 7-6 in the semis against Neville. So that was a unbelievable year in '95. What is, at the time when you was a player, what's the difference with you being a player and being now the head man in Mandeville?
I really try and put myself in the shoes of the kids, because this is the same field house. Things haven't changed a lot. This is the same field house that I played in, and I love being able to tell the kids that, hey, that's my locker right over there, or telling the kid, hey, you're wearing my number. but I want them to have a healthy appreciation of the teams that have come before them and understand that everything they do, a lot of the players who come behind them will have watched them from the stands, or there's a pretty cool little area by our home stands where a bunch of young kids play football during the season. And I remember telling Nate and Michael White and a couple guys before our game in week 10 last year, I said, look, when number 20 scores a touchdown or number 6 scores a touchdown, and all those little kids are going to see that, and that's what they want to be when they grow up, so whether they realize it or not, they're very, very important to obviously what's happening now, but they're important to what's going to happen in the future of our program.
Last question before I give it back to Jared. Talking about your alma mater, what a change over the years. Like, we know the stadium's still the same a bit, but the change over the years of the helmets, it's amazing stuff. What y'all have right now, I like the look right there. It's kind of a mix of the old school and new school. But I remember the 90s with that old school wheel helmet.
Oh yeah,
right there. That was crazy. And then they went to the M, but how it was over the years, the change, the colors don't change, but the emblems change over the years, especially at Mandeville.
Yeah, and what's interesting is when I got the job, one of the things I thought about doing was I was going to bring the M back. I was going to put the M back on the helmet, and had a couple talks with some people in our booster club, and they really had, prior to me being here, they had kind of a real big group of people that spent a lot of time to create the anchor logo that we have on the helmet now, and it does have the M in it at the bottom of the anchor. So I wanted to respect that, and I really do. I think it's a great logo. We've kind of created a secondary logo that has the skipper wheel back, and it's what we do on a bunch of our T-shirts and arm sleeves and stuff like that, where it's got Mandeville football on the skipper wheel, and it's established 1967. So we're trying to incorporate all those things, and we're probably going to go through another uniform change this year, going into next year. So be on the lookout for some changes in what we're doing.
That sounds really, really cool. I like that, man. Not too many high school teams have varieties, man. I love our teams do that,
Right.
Coach Craig Jones, thank you for joining us. Good luck this upcoming Friday night when you guys take on the Ruston Bearcats, and thank you for taking time out your schedule to join us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate everything you do for our athletes.
Thank you, Coach.
No problem. Thank you, Coach.
Coach Craig Jones of the Mandeville Skippers. Before we get to this commercial break, I'll go to George Peppers with Mandeville. George, Mandeville's in the semifinals once again against the Ruston Bearcats. Talk about the job Coach Craig Jones has done in only his second year of being the head coach at Mandeville.
You kind of had a feeling he would have success at Mandeville, considering what he did at Lakeshore, which is a much smaller entity at the time that they became as good as they did. So I for one, am not surprised that Craig Jones has done the job he's done at Mandeville. Now, your novice people are going to look and say, oh, look, a 21 seed in the semifinals, Cinderella. In numerics, yes, but as I stated in the interview, when you look at the matchups individually, they were against teams that did not have the pedigree that Mandeville had. Remember, 6-5A, also mentioned in the interview, tough district, and those districts usually prep you right for a playoff run. Now, what happens Friday night? I mean, it's a very difficult challenge to have to travel again, but Rummel did it 2 weeks in a row. They went to Shreveport and got the job done. This one, I know we're going to pick these games tomorrow night. Can't wait to do that, to cement my legacy for the playoff championship. Just saying. I mean, Jared got the regular season VK, but I got the big one, baby. The shine is right. So, but no, looking forward to that tomorrow night and whatnot. But the Skippers VK face a difficult challenge against, to me, an equally hungry Ruston team. Consider Ruston got to the Superdome last year, and was toe to toe with that strand, but a couple of possessions in the early part of that second half swung the game to Destrehan. A couple of turnovers Rustin committed in the third quarter kind of put a cement on Destrehan and got them the separation that they needed. But this game Friday night, I think can be entertaining. I think Mandeville's got an opportunity. I don't think it's without reason that they could compete here.
Well, I think they have a good opportunity in itself. And you have to think over the years, the runs that Lakeshore has made and everything else, they have played tough opponents during the regular season that prepared them for the playoff runs. And that will got them 1 year to the dome and 1 year to the semifinals. So for Mandeville, playing in the tough district alone has prepared them. And this run here is amazing of what they're doing. And I think they're gonna give Ruston everything they have on Friday night. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. It could be a very, very good game.
VK, I come back to you. Baton Rouge Catholic back in the semifinals again. Coach Fuller, in his first year as a head coach at Baton Rouge Catholic, faced some tough challenges with the losses to Warren Easton, which was later forfeited. The loss to University and the loss to St. Thomas More. And now here they are. After those losses, they haven't lost since. Won the district, beat John Curtis last week, and now they have Archbishop Rummel. Talk about the job he's done this season.
I think Hudson Fuller has established himself as the head coach of Catholic of Baton Rouge. At first, it like he's the guy, but at first he had to prove himself worthy early, especially the battles he went through, the losses he took, some tough ones. But for him to bounce back, and especially the finding ways to win, that's the biggest thing about Rummel. The Rummel Raiders cannot hang their head too much. They're going to have to come in there and handle business. The biggest thing about Catholic, what we've been looking at the last couple of weeks, you better finish the job. You better finish the job. You don't finish the job, guess what? Catholic is going to find a way to take you out. And that's what we've been seeing the last couple of weeks, especially against Zachary. That was the big time eye opener because I'm like, for them to slice and dice on that Zachary defense, that just shows how Catholic is getting better and better.
GP, your thoughts before we move on?
When you talk about Baton Rouge Catholic, is it really a surprise that they won the game last Friday night? I know we all picked John Curtis, thinking that, the car game was going to be the impetus for a potential repeat, but be as it may, it did not happen. For them, it's unfortunate. It was an entertaining game regardless, but VK, you're absolutely on point when you talk about how the Catholic Bears have been. I think the Zachary game and the manner in which they won it really, I think, gave this team some definition. Because when you look at the losses that they had to STM, to the teams that they lost to, Warren Easton on the field, of course, that got turned into a W with the forfeit. But when you look at them early, this was a team that didn't really have a lot of a defining they didn't have any definition. But I think the game against Central was the precursor in the regular season. How that game played out. Remember, Central had them most of the way, and Catholic needed a big fourth quarter to chase them down. And then the Zachary game. Look at what Zachary's doing now. They're into the state semifinals. A resounding win at Destrehan last week, and I know we're going to elaborate more on that on the other side of the. But I'm a believer in who you play and how you play them. And Mandeville, Catholic has beaten both those teams, Central and Zachary. So are we really surprised that they're here? But I'll say this about the matchup Friday night, kind of a precursor. I think the Raiders are in with a real shot here on the road. It's, again, Rummel. Look, let's just say this about the Rummel Raiders. They done burned up some mileage here in these playoffs. 2 trips to Shreveport, 1 trip to St. Paul. Now you got to go to Baton Rouge. And then, the Superdome is going to be like going right next door after the playoff run that they've had. But I think Catholic is the favorite coming in. But I think the Rummel Raiders have an absolute chance to get this win.
They have a great shot. and we'll talk about that more tomorrow. We do our picks.
Mhm.
I'm going to say this right quick before
Yep.
we go to a commercial break and then recap some of the games that happened this past Friday. I know Coach Fuller said the turnaround game was the game against Central. I think we all are forgetting one
Mhm.
important piece, with that being the turnaround game. Who's the head coach at Central now? David Semino. Who did David
Yep.
Semino coach last year? Catholic of Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge
I
Catholic.
think that had a lot to do
Yep.
with it. That's their former coach. You're playing your former coach. I think that has a lot to do with it also, meaning they got up to play that
Little
game
juice,
and they
right?
won, and now things started
Yep.
rolling from there. I think playing David Semino had a lot to do with it.
I can definitely
It makes
I can
sense.
definitely agree with that. I can definitely agree with that, especially with them winning 2 straight games. But then on top of that, knowing what Central was getting on the road themselves, going into that game and playing at Central, they just knew right. This was a big time mental game for Catholic, knowing that if we can win this game, not just beating the former coach, but beating them at their house, it could change things, and it did.
Trust me, because
It
those
changed
players
it.
did not want to lose to their former coach. Trust me, they did not want to lose. Right,
Yes.
GP?
It changed. It changed the trajectory of their season, how they won that game at Central. Because coming into the game, what was the narrative? Good, but not good enough against the better teams. That was the stigma laced upon Baton Rouge Catholic. But that Central game started to open eyes in the manner that they wanted. And then the big one, the big kahuna, was Zachary. When you look at where Zachary is, boy, that win looks really good, doesn't it? I
Without a
mean,
doubt.
Yes.
Coach Fuller. Look, we're in for entertaining semifinals. I mean, this is the week after Thanksgiving. Everybody's back in school. The distractions are going to be more plentiful because of the tickets and the teams that are hosting. And look, I want to say this before we start breaking the games down on the other side of this break to everybody playing. Congratulations from us on the Hash It Out show of getting to this point. Have a safe game Friday night. Let's get through it without talking about anything other than the games itself. No injuries, no big injuries or anything like that. We want to see all of you guys for 48 minutes, lay it on the line, give it your best, and not have a game decided by a potential injury. Let's pray that that is the case Friday night.
Most definitely. All right, ladies and gents, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to get into some of the games that happened this past Friday. You're watching the Hash It Out Show.
You're watching the Hash It Out Show!
Welcome back to the Hash It Out Show. I'm your host, JB, Sports Guy. Alongside me, VK Jones and George Peppers. Guys, let's get into it. Let's go over some of the games that happened last week. We'll start off with Ruston versus Walker. Do you guys think playing Westgate was a wake-up call for Ruston as they defeated Walker 56-17?
Yes. Absolutely. I thought it was a wake up call. Rustin knew that it was going to be a barn burner, especially when Jabari Antoine was going to be playing in that ball game and everything. They knew it in themselves, but they also were seeing how Walker really took care of business over in North Shore more than anything else, and they couldn't take them lightly. And they went out there and they took care of it. But at the same time, Walker had a good, interesting start. That was another wake up call. But for them to catch on fire, settle down, getting it done, hey, the experience kicked in more than anything else. That's why Ruston's where they are right now.
GP, your thoughts on Ruston versus on Walker?
As I mean, it was the expected result for me. I felt like Ruston was always going to win this game and do it in a convincing fashion. VK, I told you when we got done with the Walker North Shore game that I thought Walker was up against it, against Ruston. I didn't think the impetus was there for them to compete and really give them any kind of a fight. I thought Ruston was going to be overwhelming at the point of attack, and they were
But
pretty much
but
56-17. Speak to.
but Walker took the lead early. Remember that they do it.
They did. Well,
The
that's
con-
you know what that is? Take a picture. That was a take a picture moment. They got the lead, and then
but,
Rustin said, "Okay, enough of this nonsense. Let's
but
go."
like I said, that's a wake up
And they
call, right?
handled business.
That was a wake up call, right?
I mean,
Just
I
saying.
think the Westgate. I think the narrative, the wake up call, is more fitting for the Westgate game because Rustin saw a team that Jabari Antoine was making his first start in. What was it? 6 weeks. They were like, "Well, we don't know what we're going to get with them." And when they saw Westgate was cutting loose, they were like, "Wait a minute, we could be gone right here." And that's a team that went to the semifinals last year. We better get on our game. I think that the narrative fits more to Westgate than it did Walker. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but 56-17 tells me I'm
All right. We just finished talking with Coach Craig Jones of Mandeville. They defeated Airline 57
right.
to 50. And I want to say this. Obviously, a lot of offense, as you can see, but Coach Craig Jones said something very important to me, to us, and everybody that's watching. He said that Airline only punted 3 times in the regular season, and in this game against them, they punted 4 times. To me, that's the game right there. You got 4
Yep.
stops on a very hot, explosive offense, made them punt 4 times. That's the game right there. What you say, VK?
Well, I'm gonna say this. Do you know what this reminds me of? And this is what 2023. This reminds me
Hold on one
of
second. Coach Trey, what's up, my man? Hang tight, because I got something to tell you later on in a little bit. I got something to tell you. Because I'm a guy that when I'm wrong about something, I'm not afraid to admit it. So I'm going to tell you something in a little bit. Go ahead, VK.
well, this game reminded me, like looking at everything, listening to what Coach Jones said. This reminds me so much of the 2021 state championship game between Lafayette Christian and St. Charles. The reason why, because the special team discrepancy. Lafayette Christian only punted maybe twice that season, and St. Charles took advantage, making some big stops and having 3 block kicks. So it's just the fact of the matter is, it's critical when your special teams is not really there. You know what I'm saying? When it's not really used consistently, and they always go for it on 4th down. So it was just the fact that kind of got airline burned, but it don't help when your defense not that good.
GP.
Can we just say Mandeville made me look good and be done with it?
Go ahead.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
Go ahead,
Make
I'm
it
dog.
flow.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I could. I can. Come on, y'all. I mean, hey, y'all gave me a lot of love and I appreciate it. But no, it's all good. Look, and in this business, for those of you that don't really know, on getting a pick right. But sometimes when you throw that out there, that nugget out there, and it comes through, that's like hitting a long shot in a horse race. But hey, I'll take that. But as far as the game, Jared, you made the point. The fact that the Vikings had to punt 4 times in that game tells you all you need to know. And the skippers, they're not used to playing these high octane offensive teams that can sling it down the field. They're not the 658 doesn't have a team that resembles Airlines. So this was different for Mandeville. And for them to respond to the challenge that the way they did and in the manner of how they were behind for most of that first half, and then it took a big second half to get the job done. You credit Craig Jones and credit the skippers for really just showing a lot of guts and a lot of moxie, getting it done. And now they have a golden opportunity at Ruston. Tough challenge, but they're embracing.
Without a doubt. Zachary went into Destrehan, defeated that Destrehan 35-14. It's still a team Destrehan cannot seem to beat. But when you rush for over 200 yards and pass over 200 yards, it's hard to beat any team. And that's what Zachary was able to do
Mhm.
and it was got them to win. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes. Yes, sir. Big time.
All right.
I want to.
Touchdown.
I want
Go
to
ahead.
bring
Go ahead.
up.
Go ahead, George.
I wanted to bring up something that nothing was said. You know what I think with Destrehan, how they lost the game. You're right, Jared. The numbers tell you that. But where I think this game was won and lost, this was a comparable opponent, and I think they missed Marcus Scott's leadership on the sideline. You cannot replace a guy like that. I mean, they've got a great staff there, okay, but Marcus Scott is the ringleader, and him not being there, I get the rally cries and everything else, but I think the kids are like, he's not here, and he may not be back. And look, take nothing away from Zachary. I mean, that they were a better football team on the night, handled business, but I think Destrehan missed Marcus Scott a lot in that game. I think if he would have been on the sideline, would they have beaten Zachary? Who knows?
Who
But
knows?
I wonder if maybe maybe, but I wonder if Jackson Fields' youth caught up to him. He's a sophomore, so let's
Sophomore.
give him a little bit of slack. Jackson Fields, the quarterback.
He's gonna be great still. He's
You
gonna be a
know, I agree. I have no doubt. I think he showed you that this year. But Destrehan just ran into a much better team on the night. And it's impressive that Zachary went into their house and dominated that game, winning it by 3 touchdowns.
most definitely. Dusttown, 1 point win over Central. Central had the lead early. Dusttown came back. Central went for the win by going for a 2 point conversion and failed. That gave
Yep.
Dusttown the win. Dusttown advancing to their first ever semifinals. So as we move on to Division One non-select, select. I'm sorry, Division One select. And I tell y'all what, man, you got to give credit to what Coach Nick Watney has done at Holy Cross in his first year there. But
Scott Watney.
Scott Watney, thank you. Where did Nick come from? My God, Scott Watney, thank you, George.
You seen Nick Campbell in the comments.
Yeah, that's what it was. Nick Campbell right there. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Man, Scott Watney, the job he's done in his first year at Holy Cross, and a lot of chaos just to get a game to be played on a Saturday night when they wanted to play on Friday night, and we got into that last week. But man, Holy Cross came out fast, a pass down the middle for a touchdown, up 7-0, and after that, Acadiana just the dive. Holy Cross could not stop the dive. 21-7 halftime, and then both teams did score a touchdown, but Acadiana just dominant throughout throughout the game. What are your thoughts quickly, VK, about that game?
Tough luck for Holy Cross, man. Tough luck, tough week. I tell you, I really felt bad for them guys, and it was just the fact of the matter is that, you know, a little bit of the inexperience kicked in, but at the same time, what I'm saying, like when you get held in the corner and being down, but the fourth down earlier in the
Oh
ball
yeah,
game, that was a huge key right there. And I'm like, I understand Scott Windy was rolling the dice most of the year, and it's been 7-7-7. This time it was Snake Eyes, and Acadiana took advantage.
GP quickly.
I picked Acadiana to win this game. Thought that the game would play out in the manner that it did. Reginald Johnson points out Holy Cross's lack of size. Absolutely, Acadiana is a team you better bring it from jump. And Holy Cross did get out to the fast start, and that fourth down I think really changed the impetus of how that game went. Acadiana saw an opportunity, and that's like giving a hungry lion a steak. What do you think he's going to do with it? Devour it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. Acadiana showed their mettle, and now they're into the state semifinals against another formidable foe that we'll talk about here in a second.
Without a doubt. Edna Carr took on Alexandria. Edna Carr up by 2 scores going into the fourth quarter. I think it was a 41. Was it 40-21 or 40-27? 40-27, I think it was.
40-20.
40-20. Okay. 40-20 going into the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Alexandria got hot, gave Carr a run for their money, able to throw the ball against Edna Carr. Edna Carr holds on to the victory and heads to the semifinals to take on Acadiana, which is going to be a tough matchup and the first time these two programs are meeting each other. VK, your thoughts about the Edna Carr Alexandria game quickly?
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Alexandria didn't quit. Coach Bachman's team played all the way to the end. Carr has got to learn how to finish. I think they finished it off pretty straight, but they're gonna have to turn it up another notch against this Acadiana team. I'll tell you one thing: the jungle's gonna be rocking Friday night, but it's not gonna be easy.
GP, quickly.
I'm going to disagree with VK on one thing. Carr did not finish good. Acadiana, I'm sorry. Alexandria recovered an onside kick, and the call was reversed. Carr was a little fortunate. Had that call been upheld, we might be talking about Alexandria in the state semifinal. With the momentum that they had accrued in the fourth quarter, we could be talking about the Trojans playing Acadiana this week. And the Carr's got a lot of cause for concern. And it's not just the veer that Acadiana runs. It's their size. It's their ability to lean on you. Carr's gonna have to figure some things out. The one concern I had for Edna Carr, JB, and VK, and I told you guys this ad nauseum. I'm not sure this team. Oh, here we go. I'm not sure this team is 48 minutes good on their best. They beat a lot of teams, but is 48 minutes good enough to win? Their best at 48 against Acadiana good enough to win? That is going to be answered Friday night. Who we pick tomorrow night? Stay tuned.
I tell you what, the last time Endicott faced a team that runs the veer, well, John Curtis, but I'm not including John Curtis. Karen Crow, 2020. Yeah, and
They punished them.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yep.
Here we are, Catholic of Baton Rouge against John Curtis. So we just had Catholic of Baton Rouge coach on the show with us, Hudson Fuller. Now, the things that happened that we heard about the clock. We saw the video with the completed catch on the fourth down when the guy's foot was out of bounds. We saw that. And guys, that is not the fault of anybody of Catholic of Baton Rouge. Let's get that straight.
Nope.
So that's not their fault. Did the refs mess it up with that call? They sure did. That it's clearly out of bounds. I don't know what the refs saw. That's a gut punch to Curtis fans and the Curtis players, knowing that when you see that video and his foot is out of bounds, and then the next play with 2 seconds left, touchdown catch for Catholic Rouge. And I sit here and when I say game deciding moments, that drive there and that catch out of bounds was a game deciding moment that went in favor for Catholic and didn't go the way that's supposed to go. This stuff happens. We've seen it happen with the Saints and the Rams, where the pass interference not called. There's nothing that could be done about it. You can file your protest or whatever. Nothing gets done about it. You do feel bad for Curtis, but I can't be mad at Catholic. They have nothing to do with this. It's a mistake on the ref's part. And can remind me, I was getting to that. I was about to get to that because I did say the clock. I went to the play. 11 seconds was put back on the clock, and then I do agree with you. If those 11 seconds weren't put back on the clock, that play does not happen because that was, I think, 8 seconds when he caught the ball out of bounds. So that play does not happen at all. I totally agree with you. GP, your thoughts first.
Do you know how many on that last drive? Do you know how many plays they ran in advance of the winning touchdown? In 44 seconds, they ran eight plays. Where in any level of football can you get off 8 plays in 44 seconds? That's a lot of quick screens. And Catholic moved a decent bit down the field. This absolutely reeks with the clock, and I'm not blaming Catholic at all. And anybody who decides, well, they're in on it or concoct some cockamamie theory about, well, they're in on it. They helped Curtis lose. They made the refs. Shut up. Really, slow your roll. That's a bunch of kids, and they beat one of the Titanic programs in the state of Louisiana, John Curtis, a reigning champion. Whether you want to say fair or not, VK, the result is the result, and Catholic is in the semifinals, and John Curtis has turned their uniforms in for the year.
VK?
This was tough. This was really tough, man. It is not the fault at all, Catholic. And all I gotta say is this: it's a shame that it had to come down to officials. It's a freaking shame. Let the kids determine what happens on the field. Let the kids determine it. And I get sick and tired of the officials trying to make a statement, trying to. I get sick and tired of it because the fact of the matter
No,
is,
Don,
I, I,
Don,
I, I,
Don,
I,
Don.
Don,
We'll get to that.
we're
We'll
gonna
get
get
to
into
that,
that in a
Don.
minute.
But I totally disagree with you on that one. Totally. That was a good ball game. That was ref fair on both sides. They missed stuff on both sides, but no, to say JFK had issues, no, I totally disagree with that.
It is
And
it the fact that let the kids figure it out. Let the kids do what they got to do. If it's a call that's significant and if it is the right one, make it. But let the kids let the kids win it on the field. Let them figure it out, bro. I get sick and tired of that.
all right, Rummel defeated St. Paul's 35-21. Like we said, Rummel has gotten hot at the right time, getting healthy, and St. Paul's played well. And look. We get to that. We gonna get to that in a minute. I got the film also. So I'm telling y'all, we gonna disagree on it, but no, the refs did not help nobody in that game. I'm sorry, we're gonna disagree with it. But let's Rummel over St. Paul's. Let's go to since everybody's coming up with it. Let's go to Division Two Select, and I'm gonna start there. I'm gonna start with Sean Kennedy first. I'm gonna start there. All right. So here's the talk that's going around. Kennedy people believes. Well, before I get into that, I got something to say to Coach Trey. And it was the first thing I wanted to do with Coach Trey. Because I go back to when we did our top five, and Coach Trey asked, "What about Kennedy?" And I said, "Y'all doing some good things, da 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 da." And I said, "I wanted to see y'all do that against, in my opinion, better competition like Shaw, Rummel." And I told that to him. Let me see y'all do that against them. And Coach Trey says, "Cool, no problem. Say less." Well, what I saw Friday night from John Kennedy was extremely amazing. Their game plan was great. 352 yards on a good Shaw team. Shaw had trouble stopping the run game for sure. So much credit to them on how they played Shaw. And hey, hats off to them. Hell of a game. 20-13 victory for Shaw. Hell of a game. And Kennedy came with it. And that's what I was talking about. Like, I want to see that against a Shaw team. And they showed that game. So hats off to John F. Kennedy, my main man, Coach Elfage, my man, Chris Coleman, Coach Trey, that entire coaching staff. Hats off to them. Now, what is being said a lot that from that side is that these refs helped Shaw win. What's being said on the other side is no, that did not happen at all. That the refs missed calls on both sides. And somebody asked me about all the calls, what were the penalties Shaw got? And I named them. Offensive pass interference. Three defensive pass interferences. You had multiple offsides. You had kickoffs out of bounds. All right. Kennedy, what did they have? They had some holding. On the opening kickoff, they ran it back, right? They got called for holding. They were saying there was no hold. I got the pictures from the video. Big Easy Media. Tristan Evans, 22 for Shaw, is being held for about 15 yards trying to run to make the tackle. Another touchdown play that got on the run. The right tackle for Kennedy held. So they're saying this and that, and I don't like it because, in my opinion, what I saw, we had a good game between great two teams. Now, Coach Trey, I put this picture up. You're gonna think differently. I don't want to do that, my brother. But they saying they think it is. A lot of people saying that. A lot on this side said no. No. And then see, there go Reggie saying JFK got away with holding the whole game. Okay, and like I told somebody, holding happens on every play. Every play holding happens. It happens
I
every
will.
play.
I would like to see that picture myself too.
Oh, you want to see it?
No, I too want to. I'm not trying to stand up for nobody.
I didn't say you were. I just asked you want to see it. I'll send it to you.
I want to see it because here's the thing.
Trey, I got the video too.
I'm saying that because I'm a former offensive lineman, and I know the difference between blocking and everything else. The biggest thing is this: if your hands are in and you're blocking, that is not a hold. But if your hands are out, and especially as it around the jersey and all that stuff, and you're pulling and yanking, you're yanking the jersey and stuff, that is an absolute hold.
All right, I'm sending you the picture of the kickoff that they call the holding on right now. I want you to look at it, and you tell
Is
me.
this in the group chat?
I'll put. Well, you know what? I'll put it in the group chat. That's fine. I'll do that. I'll put it in the group chat.
All right,
So both of y'all
because I
can see
want
it.
to see it too. Now
Both
you
of y'all
got me
can see it.
curious.
All right.
All right.
So I'm gonna send those two.
But with that said, while you're doing that, let me opine. Um, what I think, you can say what you want. Kennedy can cry and moan and be moan about.
Wait, look. Don't.
Look, yeah,
I'm not. I'm not gonna say they crying and moaning. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that.
no, there are some of their people were flapping their gums about this is a conspiracy. Shaw was always pegged to win this game. Kennedy, got the short end of the
Kennedy.
stick. There was a lot of that banter.
Kennedy played
You
their
know,
ass off, bro. They played their ass off.
they did.
I told Cole.
They
I
did.
told Cole at the end of that game on the field. I said, "Yo, that was the better team tonight." Kennedy, that was the better team tonight. It just didn't happen for them.
Mm.
Five turnovers, 2 interceptions, 3 fumbles. One of the interceptions a pick six.
Here's the thing. I'm looking at both pictures.
Wrong, Don.
I'm looking at both pictures. Now, first one is hard to tell, but
It's the same play, the kickoff, the same one.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I can't tell on that first one. The second one, it is definitely a hold.
Definitely.
You can't yank that jersey. You can't. You gotta make sure your hands are in. If your hands are in, especially if you're not yanking the jersey outside, they're not throwing that flag. They're not throwing that flag. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this before you go forward. And I understand the people keep talking about this, that the reps and all. Kennedy fans, you need to stop. And I'm saying that because I'm an alumnus of St. Aug. We had to go through that stupidness. We had to go through that.
I got the video, Trey.
And guess what I'm gonna say too? Guess what I'm gonna say too on that? You know what I say about that? When I grew up playing the game, coaching the game, and also being a part of media, play through the call. Don't worry about the calls. If your calls don't go that way, guess what? Keep playing. Keep playing. Because what they want you to do is a mental game. They want you to crack because we can't get the call. They want you to crack. You got to stop that. It's a mental game. You got to stop. You have to play through calls. You have to play through it. Even if you're a fan, you have to play through it because guess what? It's not going to happen like that all the time. And at some point, I remember my coach junior high basketball last year. And some of the kids were complaining about the calls. You know what I said? Forget the refs. They're not going to give it to us. So play. And guess what? We came back and won the ball game because we kept playing. That's the aspect you teach the kids. And I think Coach Trainer are doing that. I think Coach Alpage is doing an unbelievable job.
Without a doubt.
And they're staying focused on the field. The fans got to understand you have to play it through. If you don't, and you keep on talking about the rest, that's why teams can't get over the hump. I hate the rep that Orleans Parish gets. I hate it. I don't want it, but I feel bad for that.
That's it, Coach Trey. And look,
that's it.
Me and Coach Trey right
exactly
here.
What I'm saying.
He thinks a certain way. I think a certain way. It's not disrespect. It's disagreeing respectfully, without a doubt.
Exactly.
Even me and Don, we disagreeing respectfully, and that's cool. We could go on from there. I'm gonna say this though. Let me just say this. let me say this: the kickoff that went out of bounds, and the ref said the Kennedy guy touched it. That's hard to tell. Now Kennedy on that sideline got a better angle than what I got, and they might be able to say he didn't touch it. He did reach out. He did reach out, and with that, when you reaching out, and the referee got a certain angle of how he looks and how he can see it, he may think he touched it. Now, did he touch it? I don't know. They saying he did. No, Kennedy saying he didn't. Ref said he did. I don't know. I can't. Hold on, Q. Hold on. Hold on. We about to move on, Q. But I just don't want this game to be marred by that, because it was a great game. Great game. If Kennedy don't commit those turnovers, we might be saying something different. Because they had the opportunities. They played a wonderful ball game, and my hat goes out to them. My hat goes out to them. This was a game they wanted. They showed up. Great game by two different teams. Shaw got the victory. They're moving on. But yo, John F. Kennedy, man, like I said to Coach Trey weeks ago, I want to see what they can do against a team like that. And they showed me everything. And I gotta tip my hat off to him just like that, because I have the headphones on. But Coach Trey, you my guy. Chris Coleman went to school with him. Coach Al Fades, number of love for y'all guys, and y'all know that.
Kennedy's got a great
DP,
future
anything you
coming
want to say
forward.
quickly about Shaw and Kennedy?
It was a great ball game. We thought in advance of it that we thought this was going to be one of the most tightly contested games in the state. Now, obviously, there were other games that had the same mantra. Kennedy had their chances in the second half, but as you mentioned astutely, JB, turnovers did them in. They were 13-10 at the half ahead. Chances to open, chances to extend, and they fail. When you go against a Hank Tierney coach team and a team that is like minded defensively and can smash you offensively with Jasper Parker and Mason Wilson has come up, when you don't take advantage, you're going to lose.
True.
And no discredit to Linares, Southpage, and Kennedy. We got much, much love for y'all. You know, y'all got an outstanding, and VK's dead right. Dead right. Kennedy could be the ringleader in New Orleans, in Orleans Parish going forward. And that's a strong and bold statement. That program is on great footing with that staff. They're gonna be just fine. It's a tough way to lose, but they're gonna bounce back. Best believe that.
Coach Trey, I did say that. I did say I thought Shaw's running game would give y'all fits. I did say that. And I thought obviously Shaw would be able to stop Kennedy's passing game, which they pretty much did. They did a great job with the passing game. One long play for a touchdown, 66 yards that Amani found. But other than that, yeah, I said I think the running game give fits, and Kennedy did a great job of stopping the runs. I believe I read that the quarterback and the running back both had 108 yards apiece, and I said, no, that ain't right. That ain't right. They might have got 100 yards rushing, but not over 200 yards. Didn't happen. So, like I said, my hats go off to John F. Kennedy, man. That was they fought. They fought. Good ball game between the two, man. And it was a great ball game. I was glad to be there. Glad to be there. So I'm expecting big things from John F. Kennedy next year, especially if we go back to 1A through 5A, without a doubt. So we're gonna move on right quick. Yeah, that's what I read too. Another paper trail total 157. We only have 4 yards passing. We only have 4 yards passing. So, you know, they did their job. What was the question of call? What are you talking about? He left after a blown call. What blown call you talking about? I don't know what blown call you're talking about now. I don't know, but
I'll tell you, man, I'm like this. Kennedy's got a great future going forward, man. A great future. And like I said, if things go the way that I might think it could go in the off season, I'm like, Leonard's LFA should not go anywhere. This could be a gold mine upcoming in New Orleans, it'll be almost just like Tony Hall when he built how Warren Eastern program is.
Without a doubt. Go straight, man. You know that, brother. You know that, brother. Y'all got that, man. You know, it's all love from us all the time, my brother. You know that. And next season, we're going to call one of y'all games
Yep.
again. You already
Yes.
know that, my brother. All love, man. And that was a great game put on between two teams, man. It was wonderful. All right, guys, let's move on. All right. St. Thomas More, big over St. Michael. McDonald 35 showed up to Lafayette Christian and lost 57-21. But you have to give, yeah, Q, you missed the Cali Baton Rouge talk. You did miss it. You got to give Frank Dax credit for the job he's done this whole year, get his team to the quarterfinals, guys. What y'all think about that quickly?
Great job by Frank. I mean, it established him as the head coach of 35. And I think next year it's gonna have his team to become more better than anything else. And you got to give me a little props too, because remember I said it myself. They gave Lafayette Christian a fight, and I said Santana Price was not gonna let that team die. Give me props on that.
What fight?
Remember, 35 was up early, and then all of a sudden,
what 7-0?
No, it was up as much. It was up 7-0.
Then it was tied 7-7.
Tied
And the LCA never looked back.
No, actually, 35 took the lead again. Then they tied it, and then it took off. It was up 14-7, and then all of a sudden, Lafayette Christian tied again, and then it took off.
Okay.
All I'm saying was 35 gave him a game for at least a half.
A quarter?
A half. A half.
Go ahead, George.
I'm just saying. Just admit I was a little right on this. Just saying.
I'm sorry, guys. Listen, 35. Frank Daggs did not need this quarterfinal run to establish himself. He's already done that at 35. He's a very good coach. He just ran into a buzzsaw. There you go, Kenny. He just ran into a buzzsaw. Because I remember 35 getting the lead early, but then I remember Lafayette Christian saying, all right, you done? Watch this. Jawan went to work, and look, before we continue, Jared, let's congratulate Jawan for breaking Brock Berlin's record. He needs 4 more touchdowns to pass. I think that's Brock's record too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he needs 4 more tutties to get to another record.
Yeah, touchdown
but the yardage record has been broken. So congratulations, Jawan. Y'all got an interesting semi against Hurlings. But let's talk about that one, because Edie White, me and VK especially, were real high on them, as the season progressed. But boy, they laid an egg against Hurlings Catholic. I mean, those guys just walked in there into Thibodeau and punched him in the mouth, and Edie White had no answer. The score is very deceptive. Hurlings Catholic dominated that game from jump.
I felt as I said, I got my semifinal picks are the 14th that's still playing. I felt like Turlings with a better team than Edie White, so that's just my thoughts. But yeah, Jawan Johnson, man, I keep saying I think he's the best player in the state this year, and yeah, he's going to be remembered as one of the greatest of all times. If he can win, well, he got a state championship as a freshman, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a freshman.
Lost he's lost 2 in a row. He lost to St. Charles and he lost to STM last year.
Yeah, so he's trying to get a second state championship. So that's the record. Nick Brassett's touchdown record. So he's on pace to break that. The Z Cheese, Edie White's way too one-dimensional. Yep. And pass defense been suspect all year. All right, guys, let's go to the Division 2 non-select right quick. And as you see, North DeSoto defeated Iowa big. Opelousas came into Lutcher. And, man, talk about the Opelousas defense, VK. They're stepping up at the right time, man. And that was a big win over Lutcher.
One of my semifinals that I picked to get there, and they did. I said to myself about Opelousas, they are very battle tested. They did not play that tough schedule for nothing. And right now, the hard work is starting to pay off for them. And like I said to myself, I said they can get it done in Lutcher, and they did. The semifinal is going to be interesting in itself. They go on the road against North DeSoto. they're gonna give North DeSoto some fits. We're gonna see what happens. What we're gonna pick tomorrow night with it. But big ups going to Jimmy Zachary and the squad, man. I said it myself that this team is gonna be too hungry and battle tested to get there. We knew Lutcher was gonna be right there in the thick of things, but Lutcher's young. But Lutcher's gonna come back stronger next season.
Definitely, without a doubt. George, Northwest
Yes, sir.
also in the city of Opelousas. And man, a 22 seed, here they are in the semifinals for the first time, defeating Assumption in double overtime. They
Yep.
stuffed Assumption's 2-point conversion. What's your thoughts
Yep.
about Northwest defeating Assumption?
Incredible run by Northwest, and none of us saw this run coming. I mean, it's a young program, you know, but you tell you what, those kids, the Raiders, that's who they are, have been exceptional in these playoffs. And Assumption, that's got to be a real bitter way to lose that game. 3 seed, home, quarters. You obviously we're going to travel either way because Cecilia's waiting for the Northwest. Um, but that's got to be a little disappointing for the Mustangs to lose that game the way in the manner that they did. But congratulations to Northwest, man. I mean, those kids, they're gritty, tough, and they played a really strong game and got the job done. Tougher challenge this week, though. But I want to touch on Opelousas. Lutcher, the biggest weakness Lutcher had this year, they never could get an offensive identity. Snacks was gone. They missed him a lot, and they struggled in some high-profile games without him. They're going to have to figure something out offensively, get some confidence in that before I can get them into a state championship contention. Quarterfinals was kind of the right way to go. VK, good big ups to you for putting Opelousas through. I think we're in for some very tantalizing semifinal matchups in this division with North DeSoto and Opelousas and Cecilia and Northwest. You would think that the higher seeds are the favorites and probably are, but boy, we're in for some good matchups.
Any team that gets into the quarters are good teams, but you get to
Yep,
the semis, you pretty much
a
already
little
beat.
better than good.
That's right. All
Both
right,
teams
go ahead,
and both
VK.
and it's amazing that both teams hasn't been this deep in the playoffs, and for Northwest to pull that big win. I mean, wow! I remember, and I believe it was the no, it was another team, but Northwest. I mean, getting this deep, that deepest they ever been, and Assumption being this deep for the first time. They haven't been in the quarterfinals since the days of Brandon Jacobs, so
Right.
it's a long time. So for them to get their good year for Opelousas, I'm sorry for Assumption. They're young themselves, so they're gonna be back.
Be
So
back.
look out
Yep,
for the Mustang.
All right, Division 3 non-select. Gina, they're for real, guys. When you hold a meet to 7 points, that's making a statement. Yes, Gina's number 1 seed, but people were saying now they get their true first test against a meet. Well, this is a test they passed with flying colors, 30-7. Your thoughts, VK, about the Gina Giants' victory over a meet?
Hey, like I said, a team that's been there, done that. But you got to get over that. You got to get over that hump. You've been to the quarters maybe a few times in your history, but for them to do what they did against a meet, amazing. And I said it myself. If they beat a meet, they're going to the dome. We knew that Gina was a team that was really deep. That this could be a very special team, and they proved it against a state championship power at home, and now they'll be at home again against Union. Like I said, this is Gina's time.
GP, your thoughts quickly about that
it
matchup,
might
Gina
be,
and
it
Union.
might be, but it's a very difficult matchup with what Union Parish brings. They bring a lot of size and a lot of power. But Gina, I'm not surprised that they won in the manner that they did. I really am not. I keep thinking what Zephaniah Powell said in our interview some time ago, that they were young and that concerned him. I thought, and with Gina, they've been, I don't want to say flying under the radar because they're the 1 seed, but in the grand scheme of things, when you rank teams in the best in the state, was Gina near us? No. But you know what? They continue to win and they continue to dominate. They got special receivers. They got an offense that can score a ton of points. And in a matter of a game like that against Union Parish this coming Friday, it's all about tempo. If Gina's able to establish it early, Union Parish might be in for a very long night. But we'll talk about that tomorrow as far as picks go. But Gina, I love what they've done, and they're raising the banner for Central Louisiana. Alexandria with the gutty effort against Carr, and Gina last week against Amy, dominating that game. Tells me a little something that Sandlot football is on the rise.
Definitely. You mentioned Union Parish. Man, a close victory, 28-22 over Bogalusa. Coach Crutchfield almost got
Oh
it
yeah.
to the semifinals, man. Tough way to go out. St. James, they get their revenge over Manny, 40-0. I didn't see 40-0
Hmm.
happening, but man, did St. James make a statement, letting everybody know that this could be their year. And the bottom part of the bracket, Sterlington 33-20 for Pine. VK, your thoughts on St. James with that statement win?
And to be honest with you, not a surprise. Not a surprise. I said it myself. This Manny team is not the same without Jess Curtis, and it's been proven again. They're a good program, but next season maybe they'll get better. But without the head man, it's a different kind of monster. And for them to come down to Vacherie for that ball game, I'm not surprised that this score wound up being what it be. But now St. James can prove that they're a contender, but they got tough sledding up ahead. It is not going to be easy going up there to try to get it done at Sterlington. But I'll tell you one thing: it's going to be a great ball game out there in North Louisiana this week.
You got to give the new head coach credit. I mean, he lost to St.
Yeah, he
James,
did.
and he lost to Newman, and then he got him back to the quarters. So you got to give him
He did.
credit.
No, I'm not giving him no. I'm not giving him. I'm not slighting him. Not a bit at all. Not a bit at all. He done a good job and everything else. And I think he's going to establish his program next year. But he did a good job in year number one, getting them to the quarterfinals. No knock on him at all.
Hmm.
All right, George, your thoughts on St. James, right quick?
St. St. James. St. James should have won last year, but their mouth overloaded their behinds, and they got spanked. If they went up there last year and stayed humble, they'd have beat many last year. That's how convinced I was about that team. This one, I'm not. I'm like VK. I thought St. James would handle this game pretty comfortably. Did I think they would shut them out? No. I thought they would. I thought they would get a comfortable result, and they did. But boy, the challenge gets totally different this week, Starlington, and having to get on the bus and go from Vacherie way to the northern part of the state. It's gonna be a long trip up. St. James is capable, but that's going to be a tantalizing semifinal at Sterlington.
Definitely. And we'll give you our picks tomorrow. Let's get to Division 4.
Yep.
Let's finish this out. Division 4. Logansport, 8-point win over Welch. They move on. Haynesville, big over Jeanerette, 36-6. Oak Grove with a 1-point victory over Mangum, 31-30. And Kentwood, 48-20 over Homer. Your thoughts about the Kentwood Kangaroos, VK?
I mean, a good showing last week. They took care of business, pulling away against Homer. But this is going to be a big game, another challenge for Kentwood. Oak Grove is not going to make it easy at all, even though they're at home. They had it. Now, I'll tell you one thing about Kentwood. They've done very, very well. Only one loss on the season, but it was at home against another team that's in the semis. That's Southern Lab. So it's going to be interesting to take on a team. Expect this to be one or two things: shootout, or it could be a low scoring ball game going into the fourth quarter.
George Peppers, before I go back to Division 3 select that I skipped over by mistake, your thoughts on Kentwood here in Division 4 non-select?
Not surprising that they handled Homer. I said it last week that the Pelicans' run defense was going to be their Achilles heel. They had struggled all year long stopping the run. Courageous to get to the quarters, but Kentwood feels like a team of destiny. They're into the semis. An old rival awaits though in Oak Grove. And Oak Grove, they had a little slippage after the legendary Victor Ripple left, but they're back. and they're on the precipice, and that's going to be an entertaining game next week. Oak Grove Kentwood at the Tank, and I can promise you, SRO is the order there, standing room only.
All right, Division Three select. We go to St. Charles with a 10-point victory over Notre Dame, 31-21. A tight ball game in the beginning, and then St. Charles slowly pulled away towards the end of the game with that 10-point victory. These teams have played each other in the playoffs for the past 4 or 5 years. They know each other very well, so we did expect a tight matchup. VK, you go first with your thoughts about St. Charles defeating Notre Dame.
They got it done against a talented Notre Dame team. They got it. The experience kicks in more than anything else. The championship experience, and I think they're going against they got home again. University will probably looking at this whole division is tough in itself, but this is going to be another challenge in itself. University is a really really good team, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Friday.
GP, your thoughts on St. Charles Catholic?
Wayne Stein is one step away from a potential three-peat opportunity. That's what needs to be the story that's written here. Gritty effort over Notre Dame. The Pios were not going to lay out. They were going to give you everything that they had. St. Charles was just a touch better. And like VK said, that's an interesting semifinal matchup against University. That game is going to be at St. Charles. Going to be a heck of a battle. Two powers. Tell you what, that's going to be a fun game to follow Friday night.
Most definitely. Kenny, it's very hard to get a game in the semifinals, but we do have one. It's not St. Charles Catholic, but I will let you know what game we do have in a little bit. All right, guys. Lake Charles College Prep loses to ULAB 45-13. Good showing for Lake Charles College Prep, to be honest with you. From a 4-6 season and then two big time upsets. Well, the Catholic New Eye is really not an upset to me, and Pope John not upset. But if you go by the numbers of how they're seated, it is. But shout out to Coach Franklin and his crew. Newman over Episcopal, 31-15. Tough ball game at first, and Newman pulls away. And Calvary Baptist over Parkview Baptist, 49-28. VK, your thoughts on Newman?
Newman, I mean, they got it done. Episcopal did everything they can to slow them down with their type of game. But Coach Nelson Stewart knows what he wants. The kids settled down and handle their business, and they got it done at home. Big time win for them, especially for their seniors. Now they go on the road to get over another hump, another semifinal appearance for Nelson Stewart. Could they get over that semifinal hump this time? They go on the road this time, and they go against a very good Calvary Baptist team that is possibly maybe a favorite to maybe the throne of defending champions. We'll see, but it's going to be an interesting ball game. I really think Newman's going to lay everything out for that ball game Friday night.
Think about it. This team last year with Arch Manning lost in the quarters to ULAB. Now this team with Eli Friend is in the semifinals. And Newman has never been to the Superdome. I think Newman is going to play with their hearts out this game to be that first team to ever represent their school by playing in the Dome. George, your thoughts on Newman quickly?
Uh, Tough win against Episcopal and that wing T offense. It took the Greenies a little while to figure out what Episcopal was doing. Obviously, smash mouth football takes you a little time to adjust and make the right correct reads. Eli Friend handled his business late on, but I think this is going to be an extremely tough matchup at Calvary. Calvary is at a different level than Newman, and Newman's going to have to get to that level to even have a shot in that game. So we'll see. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but they're going to have to play way better than they did against Episcopal to have a shot at Calvary Baptist.
Most definitely. As we go to Division 4 Select, the last one for the day. Vermilion Catholic, 39-35 over Ascension Catholic. What a ball game that was. Vermilion Catholic was down, I believe, 22-0 at one time. Either 22-0 or 21-0. They were down big.
22.
And came back and won. The Hassel Out Show game of the week. Riverside Academy over St. Martin's, 26-14. We'll come back to that one in a second. Washita Christian defeated St. Mary's 56-0. And Southern Lab defeated Central Catholic 35-0. The Hassel Out Show game of the week is Southern Lab taking on Washita Christian. That is the Hash It Out Show game of the week. VK and George Peppers with the call for this semifinal game, which should be an instant classic. Now let's talk about Riverside and St. Martin's. I'll let you guys go because you guys were there. I'll let VK Jones go first.
I mean, this was a great battle. This is a great battle in itself, and Jared, you can say I was right on how this game was a little more tougher than it was, and but at the same time, give a lot of credit to Riverside from the jump. They got them on probably one of the longest and best drives we've seen all year long. I mean, you go 12 plays, 80
Longer
yards.
than that.
Actually, was it 80?
16 plays, 80 yards.
Plays, 80 yards. I'm sorry. 16 plays,
You
80
good?
yards, and knocking off, let me get this right, 7 minutes off the clock, Jared.
Yep.
7 minutes off the clock and getting the touchdown. But then St. Martin's, they bounced back. I mean, you look at the quarterback, Oliver, and then you look at Harlem Berry. I mean, they kept them in the game. Their defense kept them in the game, making plays and stuff like that. St. Martin's fought. They had a lead at one point, but then all of a sudden, Riverside settled down, and Dedrick Lasty just was a killer, just a straight killer, a big time rocket, and he's everything. I'm 5'3", 153. 5'3", Jared. If you see him,
Okay.
dude is quick, fast, and lightning.
All right.
He was amazing. But for Riverside, I'll tell you one thing. They countered everything that St. Martin's threw at them. So big time props going to Lee Roussel. But watch out for St. Martin's next season. Good bit of experience returns next year. They could be a contender once again.
GP, your thoughts on the game y'all called?
It was pretty nippy. I mean, they had us on the field on the backstop of the end zone, so it was a pretty chilly night. Hot chocolate helped a little bit. But as far as the game itself, Dedrick Lasty, as VK astutely points out, was the difference maker. He did more of what Harlan Berry didn't do, and that was the difference in the game. But what St. Martin's did in this game, the first game was the shellacking in the regular season, and the reason it was because Ashton Oliver did not play, and St. Martin's has an identity has a counter with him on that offense. And like you say, VK, they're young. They'll be back. Kevin Dizer's got a good thing going there. Again, it's gonna be more what class they go to when we get to January. Are we gonna stay this way? Are we going back to mixing it up, selects and non-selects together? We'll see. But the Saints gave a gallant effort, Jared. But at no point did I think the Rebels were going to lose that game because he was just destroying people. I mean, I think he went VK for almost 2 bills in that game. Remember, and I think he almost went for 2, or did he?
He had counting all the totals and everything else, he finished with 170. I think 170 something.
Okay, almost.
Touchdown.
Is this correct? Never mind. They says he read that Harlan Berry only touched about 13 times that game. Is that correct?
No. Running it? No. I think he had VK. You got the stat. I don't know if you still have the stat sheet with you, but I'm almost positive he had it more than that.
Let me pull up the article. I can just definitely tell you.
Yeah, scan that.
From the stat side in
Yeah,
itself.
he got all 20 plus.
Yeah, I think that's what I think because he had it more than that. We were there, and not to insult you, Kenny, but you owe us 2 dinners, bro. Just saying. VK's been handing me. He's like, when are we gonna get it? I'm kidding. But as we talk about it, Riverside sets up a really good matchup against Vermilion Catholic. And as you
Yeah.
mentioned, Jared, the Hash It Out Show game of the week, man, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Two powerhouses. Watchdog Christians looking for big catchback. Because remember, 2 years ago, the Kittens embarrassed him on that Superdome carpet. They
Yeah.
embarrassed him,
Yeah.
whooped him,
What? Well,
you know.
well, looking at Barry's numbers, and this was absolutely right. Going from your stat sheet and everything else, Barry had actually 12 carries for 149 yards and a touchdown.
How many receptions? I don't remember if I put down how many
He
catches.
had only like three catches the
So
whole
15 times.
touches.
So 15
Wow.
times he touched the ball.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
And then lastly,
Mhm.
he had about, let's see, 22 carries, 188 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Yes, indeed.
5'3", 150. Jared, that dude was, in the words of the great Gus Johnson, he's got get away from the cop speed.
Hmm.
Like he said that about Chris Johnson from the Tennessee Titans back in the day. But
Yeah.
Dedrick Lasty, I told him, I said, "You're a star." You know what his team is like? How you call that man a star? I said, "Hey, bro, good things are made in small packages. That dude's a pocket rocket.
I I
He
I'll
is.
tell you this: if he was 5'9", 5'10",
Wow.
oh
Oh,
yeah,
he's Division One,
he's
easy,
D1 big time. He's probably
easy.
like 5'4", maybe 5'5",
5'3".
5'3".
5 5'3".
He's
Man,
everything in 5'3".
He's a
Yeah.
so well, everybody, we thank y'all for tuning in. Let me get Z Cheese comment on here right quick. Well, I'm gonna say this, G Cheese. A lot of people are saying the winner of Southern Lab and Washington Christian will be the state champion. A lot of people are saying that, but you cannot take anyone lightly. No team lightly. The Million Catholic got a tough ball game at Riverside, and we shall see what happens. So, well, everybody, we thank each and every one of y'all for tuning in. Special thanks to Coach Hudson Fuller of Catholic of Baton Rouge and Coach Craig Jones of the Mandeville Skippers for joining us tonight and taking time out of their busy schedule as they get ready for their semifinal playoff game tomorrow night. We will pick every semifinal playoff game. I'm hoping to have a guest join us. This guy that I'm hoping to have was a head coach at different programs. So hopefully he can join us and give his thoughts on who he thinks is going to win. Other than that, we're back tomorrow at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock with the pickles. Last words, guys, before we go. Go ahead.
Go, Joe.
ah, oh me. Oh wow. There we go. Uh, double up on. I tell you what, Kenny, I'm going 15-0 tomorrow night, baby. We can't pick Washington Christian Southern Lab because we're calling a game, and I hope I have my voice back by Friday. And as you guys are hearing, it's a struggle, but it's good. We hope with God's will, it's gonna be okay. But yeah, Kenny, uh, you're gonna have to find it hard, baby boy, because 15-0 is on the mantra for all of us tomorrow, for the three of us. Yes, it will, Cheese. Absolutely. Um, but final word show tonight, and I'm very thankful for Coach Fuller, Coach Fuller and Coach Jones for joining us. You know, it's a hectic week when you're in a state semifinal and take time to join us. It means so much to us. And look, I want to give a big shout out to Southern Lab and Washington Christian. Uh, I honestly, VK, had my doubts about this. I was hopeful, but I was like, man, I wasn't 100% there. But to those two schools, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to go into AW Medford and do this game Friday night. It's gonna be a fun trip to BR. Hopefully, I can bring my voice back with me because I'm supposed to be on the call. Um, we hope, but that's gonna be an old school game thinking about it because it's all rivals and the revenge factor is going to be so huge in that spot. But I can't wait for Friday night, but I can't wait for tomorrow night to put our infinite wisdom on the line again tomorrow and go undefeated in the picks.
DK?
And I tell you, man, it's good to be on the show tonight. Great show. And we're very grateful. We started this Hash It Out Show Game of the Week at Jack Salter Stadium. We not just we started with the sponsorships. We started with the groundwork. We started with the idea of George Peppers with his whole thing. And all of a sudden we got everything together and we put it in this package. And guess what? From Jack Salter Stadium now to AEW. I'm sorry, not AEW.
Oh, you wrestling, huh? AEW, huh? Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
AEW Mumford Stadium Friday night for Southern Lab and Washita Christian. It's an honor and a privilege that we're going to bring you this game as our season finale. So I cannot wait to bring it to you. We cannot wait to bring it to you on Friday night. It's going to be unbelievable. I'm telling you, but we thank all of y'all for your support. We're going to continue it. This is year number 1. And we're going to end year number 1 with a bang, going to year number 2.
Yep. One more thing, Jared. The reason why it's our season finale, the reason is next week, VK and I have affiliations with Crescent City Sports, and I've already put things into motion for you to join us next in the Super. Will webcast all 8 games. That depending on the New Orleans area, who gets to New Orleans, Carr, Rummel, St. Charles, teams like that. That's going to be contingent. If they get there, Nash 1061 is going to have those games as well. So the 3 of us are going to be busy next weekend, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Most definitely. The game will be at A.W. Mumford Stadium, which is on the campus of Southern University on Z Cheese. That's where the game is going to be. And that's where VK and George Peppers will be calling the game, I should say. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you right here for VK Jones, for George Peppers. I am JB the Sports Guy. We'll see y'all tomorrow night. Until then, y'all take care.
You're watching the Hash It Out Show!
Thank you for watching the Hash It Out Show.